Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of COVID Update. Today's going to be a little special episode. We're gonna talk more about the vaccine and its possible side effects. Just to make something clear before I start, I am not an anti-vaccine person. I believe that vaccines can be effective, especially for the infant population, but I am strongly against mandatory vaccine. So, let's jump right to it. On the Radio-Canada website of December 15, 2020, Dr. Lin from the Canadian Group of Cardiac Research and Medical Director of Link Corp Medical Inc., he studied the vaccine, Pfizer's vaccine's monography. This is what he says. No test trials on the under 16 population. Thus, for them, the vaccine is not recommended. Same goes for pregnant women. It is not recommended for pregnant women because it wasn't tested on pregnant women. Also, they don't have the impact on breast milk, so breastfeeding is also not recommended. People that have had allergic reactions to penicillin and that must keep a dose of EpiPen on them at all times should also consult their doctor before taking the vaccine. Same goes to the people that have had severe allergies and any other health problems. Remember this because this is going to be important later on in the video. The doctor also says it's inevitable that when we will have vaccinated millions of people, that we will discover new people that are allergic to the vaccine that did not know they were. Also, in the monography, Pfizer says that people with anticoagulants or who have a hemorrhagic diathesis should avoid the vaccine. Same goes for people that are immunocompromised, vulnerable to COVID through disease or medication. Dr. Lin also warns that people living with HIV should wait till more studies are made on them before taking it. It's an important fact to point out. Moving on the CNN Health website, in the beginning of December, Dr. Kelly Moore, Associate Director of the Immunization Action Coalition, says, and I quote, "One of the things that we want to make sure people understand is that they should not be unnecessarily alarmed if there are reports, once we start vaccinating, of someone or multiple people dying within a day or two of their vaccination, who are residents of a long-term care facility. That would be something that we would expect as a normal occurrence because people die frequently in nursing homes." It's good to know. Moving on. In the Washington Examiner of December 16, 2020, by their healthcare reporter Cassidy Morrison, titled, "What side effects are we to expect from COVID-19 vaccine?" Here is what the test trial participants experienced. When talking about fatigue, 63% of the 38,000 participants reported fatigue as a side effect with the Pfizer vaccine. 68% of the 30,350 Moderna's participants also experienced fatigue. When it comes to injection site pain, which is pain in where the jab was injected, 84.1% of Pfizer and 91.6% of Moderna's participants experienced injection site pain, redness, and swelling. Headaches, 55% of Pfizer and 63% of Moderna's reported headaches. After second dose, headaches were more frequent. Muscle pain, 38.3% of Pfizer and 59.6% of Moderna's participants experienced muscle pain. Joint pain, 23.6% of Pfizer and 44.8% of Moderna experienced joint pain. Fevers, 14% of Pfizer and 0% of Moderna experienced fevers. Chills, 31.9% of Pfizer and 43.4% of Moderna's participants experienced chills. Out of all the participants, 1% experienced non-fatal but severe negative effects. The volunteers who also received the placebo shot were at a slightly higher risk of pneumonia and pulmonary embolism, or blood clot in the lungs. Pfizer and Moderna appeared to have a significant yet non-fatal side effect in common Bell's palsy, a type of temporary paralysis in the face. 3 of those in Moderna, 4 in Pfizer experienced temporary paralysis in the face. Moving on. In the Forbes edition of October 20th, 2020, researchers warn some COVID-19 vaccines could increase risk of HIV infection. Study published in the Lancet Medical Journal, one of the world's most respected medical journals, researchers warn of the cautionary tale from efforts to create HIV vaccine over a decade ago, where a promising vaccine candidate actually increased the risk of some men catching the HIV virus. The vaccine made use of a modified virus called adenovirus 5, which in our case we will call 85, as a vector to transport some of HIV's genetic material to the body. Exactly how the vaccine increased the risk is unknown, but a conference convened by National Institute of Health recommended not to use 85 any longer in HIV vaccines. Dr. Fauci, which some of you may know, was the lead author of this paper recommendation. 85 is used as a vector in some COVID vaccines. Science magazine identifies 4 of them, including USA, Russia, and Pakistani vaccines. The researchers stress the need to understand the role 85 might play in increasing the risk of HIV in vulnerable populations before deploying it to the general population. And adding that consent documents should reflect considerable literature on the risk of HIV acquisition with 85 vectors. In the Daily News of December 24, 2020, more allergic reactions triggered by COVID-19 vaccine than scientists expected. The head scientific advisor for Operation Warp Speed revealed there has been significantly more allergic reactions to COVID-19 vaccine from other immunizations. Dr. Moncef Slaoui told CNN that as of Tuesday, December 22nd, that 6 have experienced reactions to the double jab treatment from Pfizer, to be specific, saying that data on virus inoculations has been slow, meaning there could be much more cases experts are not aware of. Frequency higher than with other vaccines, they still don't know what in the vaccine is triggering the allergic reactions. Moving on the website of Local 10 News, from December 20th, 2020, titled Study Investigates Efforts of COVID-19 Vaccine on Male Fertility from University of Miami. Lead researcher Dr. Ranjit Ramasamy, a reproductive urologist with UHealth, initiated an early study that found that the virus was present in the testicles up to 6 months after infection. He said, "We're evaluating the sperm parameters and quality before the vaccine and after the vaccine. From the biology of the COVID vaccine, we believe it shouldn't affect fertility, but we want to do the study to make sure, because obviously they're not sure, that men who want to have kids in the future, to assure them that it's safe to take the vaccine." The article ends with, and I think this is important, to protect fertility for some men may want to consider freezing their sperm prior to vaccination. It's an important take to remember. Moving on. A local news station in Cincinnati, Local 12, reported on January 10, 2021, that a healthy South Florida doctor died 2 weeks after receiving the COVID vaccine. They go on to say Dr. Gregory Michael, a Miami-based obstetrician, was in good health, according to WPDE. Health officials from Florida and the CDC are investigating whether the vaccine played a role in his death, which would be a country's first vaccine-related death. He received his dose on December 18th. 13 days later, small spots started to appear on his hands and feet. After going to the hospital, they found his blood count was below normal ranges. He was then admitted to the ICU, where just days before his last resort surgery, he suffered a stroke and died. In another case, the New York Post reports on December 29th that an Israeli man reportedly dies of heart attack hours after getting vaccine. Health Ministry Director General has launched an investigation, but preliminary findings suggest the vaccine was not connected to his death. The New York Post also reports on December 30th that a Swiss nursing home resident reportedly dies after getting the COVID-19 vaccine. The resident, who had dementia, complained of urethral and abdominal pain on Saturday, a Swiss outlet reported. Later, his blood pressure dropped and pulse spiked. On Monday, the facility did not report the patient's worsening condition, the outlet also reported. The following day, the doctor was informed, but the resident died soon after, according to that same outlet. In the Times of Israel of December 29th, they report that an 88-year-old dies hours after vaccine. Doctors stress he was seriously ill. If so, why was he vaccinated if he had pre-existing health problems? Going back to that first part of the video. He received his first dose and then collapsed later at his home. In another news report, the Daily Mail on January 4, 2021 says Portuguese health worker Sonia Azevedo, 41-year-old, dies 2 days after getting the COVID vaccine, the Pfizer to be specific. As her father says, he wants answers. She worked at the Portuguese Institute of Oncology in Porto. 2 days after getting the shot, she suffered sudden death at her home on New Year's Day. Her daughter said she was otherwise very healthy and only complained about discomfort in her arm where the injection was made. So these are just a few summaries and articles I found that state the possible side effects of the COVID-19 vaccines, more specifically the Pfizer and Moderna ones. Now, to repeat and to be clear, I am not an anti-vaccine, and I think I could be convinced to take this vaccine if the government can show me its effectiveness and how safe it is. Otherwise, I cannot, in good conscience, take the vaccine not being sure of how it could affect my health. Because at the end of the day, what goes into my body is my choice, no matter what it is. So, I'd like to also be clear, again, that I'm very against mandatory vaccination, because it's the government's job to convince the population of the safety and effectiveness of what they want they want the population to take. And I don't think forcing them to take it is the way to go. You're just causing more polarization on the matter and on the subject of vaccine. So, I think it's the government's job to be transparent and show us and tell us what are the dangers of this vaccine, if any, how safe it is, and how effective it could be to fight the spread of COVID-19. Because like many of you might know, the vaccine will not protect you from being contagious or catching the virus. It is supposed to protect you from serious illness from getting the virus. So with that, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you guys soon.